blowing a major aerospace company's mind with a foreign graduate degree. I worked for a big, American, technology and defense firm with tens of thousands of employees. A senior executive who had worked there successfully for years was caught with a falsification on his resume. He was fired immediately, and a new policy was instituted requiring all employees to sign a form giving the company permission to query the college or university with their highest claimed degree for verification. I have a doctorate from an old prestigious European university, an institution that I was quite sure would have no interest in such a query. But whatever. I signed the permission form and attached a note warning the company that the university would probably ignore the request. Which it did. After a month or two with no response, HR called me in and said that the university had not responded, as I warned, but that corporate would accept a photocopy of my degree. Fine, I'm good with that. Remember the old, prestigious European university part? My degree is a piece of actual parchment about the size of a throw rug, with a wax seal about a centimeter thick, and written entirely in Latin. So, I bring it into the office and photocopy it a bit at a time by sliding it around on the photocopier window. Takes like 12 pages to get it all. I staple them into a pile and give it to HR, who reluctantly pass it on to corporate. Another month passes. HR calls me in again. Corporate is complaining that your degree is written in a foreign language. Yep, I say. It's in Latin. Tell them to find a priest to translate it. And walked out. Never heard from them again about it. Edit for clarification. 1. This took place well over 20 years when stuff like this did not all happen on the web. Snail mail and paper were the standard. 2. Commenters are taking the throw rug simile a little too literally. It's quite large but would make a rather measly throw rug. 3. My work was in the civilian sector and did not require a clearance. The fact that I am an American with a foreign PhD did not cause any hassle. Now to the comments. One friend was asked by some US university to send in a copy of a degree, transcript of records and a copy of the founding decree of the university charter she had her master's in. She sent the first two, and said that for the founding decree she would have to ask a museum, and they are quite slow to respond. The university dates back to 14th century. In the end, the founding decree was not required. Founding decree? The duck. Are they not aware that some universities are ancient? Oxford was founded in 1096. It predates the birth of Genghis Khan, the invention of the windmill, and the Aztec Empire. Even if the university was founded literally last year, why do they need a copy of the founding decree? WTF? ETA, yes, I understand there are degree mills out there, and employers want to screen those out. But the founding decree of a university doesn't establish that. The accreditation status does. The founding decree for my alma mater is an act of the colonial legislature from before the American Revolution and tells you absolutely nothing about its quality of education. Meanwhile, plenty of recently created universities are properly accredited. Was denied a job for lack of high school diploma. I'd submitted proof of my BS in engineering, my MBA, and my second BS in progress. Decided if they couldn't determine if I was in fact qualified for the position, I didn't want to spend the time digging up, and paying, for a high school transcript to meet some weird documentation requirement. I don't have a high school degree. I don't have a GED or anything like that. I went off to college after my junior year because there was nothing left in high school for me, and the college that I applied to accepted me. Based on my test scores. I now have 2 bachelors and working on a master's, but if anyone ever wants me to prove I graduated from high school, I can't, because I didn't. Hasn't hurt me in 30 years. I've had nightmares that I had to go back to high school as an adult, and they would be so much worse if that were my actual situation. It's written in a foreign language, it's from a foreign country. This was my favorite part of dealing with student loans in the UK after taking a contract in Sweden. They needed a copy of the contract, I gave it to them. It's not in English. Can you get it in English? No, I know you guys are mad on Brexit, but it's a legal contract in the country that gave it to me. You can translate it yourselves. Never heard another word about it. Many times, they require an officially translated version. When I studied in France, I was required to get my documents translated to apply to the school. The snag for me in grad school was the transcript. In my country, you get one transcript when you graduate and that's it. It is considered an official document, but it is not issued by the state unless it's a public university. My US university insisted that it had to be in a closed envelope addressed to the university. The process of obtaining a copy of the transcript is reserved for extreme cases like the original being burned, lost or stolen, is very expensive and takes months to complete as they have to manually verify the grades for every class I took. It is literally reissuing the transcript as opposed to obtaining a copy. They do not mail it as mail service is notorious for losing stuff. It is only available in person. I explained this to several staff members, who were treating me like they'd finally caught the elusive criminal mastermind that had somehow neglected to account for their administrative genius or something. I had classmates and professors from all over the world, so it surely couldn't have been that hard to understand that there is no such thing as a whole office dedicated to mailing official transcripts to other schools in other countries. But fine, whatever. They agreed to accept it if I could get it in a sealed envelope bearing the university's logo, then place it inside a courier's envelope and mail it to them myself, which would add almost another $100 on top of the couple of hundred it cost to get the transcript reissued in the first place. So I had to time the request to be completed by the time I'd visit my home country, then beg for it in a closed envelope, then fork over more money for the international shipping. When I get back, I check in with the office and they said sorry, we can't accept this. The UPS envelope had been sliced open by customs for a random check and taped shut, with a small notification slip left inside. They wanted me to do it all again. I asked them if customs opened it again would they reject it again, and they said yes. I have a nervous breakdown as they were giving me no options and my student visa would fall through if they booted me from the program, endangering any future visa, residence applications. The head of my department said there was nothing he could do. He was from India, and the head of the office involved wouldn't even talk to me. In the end, out of sheer luck, one of my classmates actually worked at this office and was assistant to the head of the office. She was from Russia. Said she would talk to her boss, who said it was fine since the inner envelope had not been opened. Classmates said the other ladies that worked in the office were lifers who just couldn't be bothered. What's maddening is that if they're lifers who can't be bothered, be cool about it and permit shit instead of denying. But then if someone notices an inconsistency later, it will come back on them, and that is the last thing they want. Most lifers I've met follow the rules to the letter, for no reason other than to cover their own ass. Even things that could get an exception from a higher up they won't do, because that would be too much work. LOL, I had something like that. I was threatened to be terminated because they pulled my transcripts a full decade after I had graduated and claimed it didn't match my resume. My university literally changed my major on my degree at some point in the intervening years. ETA, wow, this kinda blew up. Anyway, way back in ye old 20th century, there was no such thing as a better credited computer engineering, so my degree is in electrical engineering. My transcripts now say computer engineering, and I emailed HR a picture of my framed diploma to resolve the situation. It was more of an annoyance because it was such a stupidly small difference, and not like I was claiming an engineering degree when it was actually underwater basket weaving. My university literally changed my major on my degree at some point in the intervening years. My mother had that happen to her. I forget the exact what to what, but they weren't exactly related. I've edited the original, but mine was electrical engineering to computer engineering, which is really what I did, but it was not an accredited major at that time. If I recall correctly, the original transcripts said electrical engineering with an emphasis on computers or similar. And people think that an education in the classics won't pay off. OP replied, LOL. As it happens, despite being written in Latin, my degree is in a physical science. For I speak passable Latin. I also would have been laughing my ass off had I been there in HR with you.